The Cowboys had the Tyron Smith official retirement press conference earlier today. Congratulations on what should end up being a Hall of Fame career and will be a Ring of Honor career for Tyron Smith. Jerry Jones saying Tyron, just like Zach Martin, will go in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. Let's show Tyron Smith some love. Spam 77 in the comments of today's show. Let's dive into the latest around the Dallas Cowboys, in particular Stephen Jones. He has hinted at another potential trade. This time, a trade down, not a trade up, is potentially in the cards for the Cowboys in round one this year. Here's what Stephen Jones told 105 Through the Fan. I don't necessarily see us moving up based on the way the board is coming together, but could see a situation where we move down. Now, this is round one focused. Day two, day three, that's a different conversation altogether because you don't have nearly the same level of feel for what the board will look like at pick, 38 as you do at pick 8. And that is not a surprise at all. This is, I think, the way most of us would prefer. Trade down is always better, and not always, but mostly better, and how most of the NFL feels right now. Everybody likes to move down. Everyone wants extra assets, more shots at getting the more players, better impact, all of that, especially in this class. Not a lot of teams want to move up. The top-end talent is Abdul Carter, it's Travis Hunter, can maybe argue it's Ashton Genty, Mason Graham, and then player 5 to 15 to, for some, down to 20 isn't really a big difference. And at that point, it doesn't make sense to move up. The guy you can get at 8 could be very similar to the guy you get at 18, depending on which position you are targeting. So I don't foresee a trade up happening. And frankly, I would be a little surprised if a trade down happened just because of the general lack of interest. I think Dallas would have interest. I don't know what team is coming up to 12 to take somebody. Maybe there's an edge rusher a team really wants. That would maybe benefit you a little bit. A run on quarterbacks would help you no matter what because that would push better players further down the board for you. I don't see them moving up in round one. I think they'll be pretty quiet that day. Day 2 and especially day 3, different conversation. And we'll talk about that here more in depth in just a second. But I want your predictions. Over the course of the draft, will the Cowboys make a trade? Up, down, pick for player, player for pick? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I am curious what Dallas does on day 3, and we can go back to that listicle here of all of the picks as well. But they've got 7 picks on day 3 of this year's NFL draft. 2 5s, 2 6s, 3 7th rounders. I don't know if they are going to use all of those where they are currently slotted. I think they would love to secure a 4th round pick. A little bit tough to do, but you can start packaging picks and trying to move up if you can find a willing partner. Could you trade one for a vet? They've done that with pick swaps for Kaiir Elam, for Kenneth Murray, for Joe Milton, who, those guys aren't all vets, but players who aren't first-year players. That would intrigue me because I want to get a running back. I want to get a corner, a wide receiver, and a defensive tackle. I have 3 top 145 picks. I probably can't fill all 4 of those unless I trade down. I would not be opposed to taking one of those 6th rounders and getting a future 6 or a future 5 or whatever and acquiring a pick in next year's class. Because right now, the Cowboys have a handful of non-draft pick spots left. They've got 10. They've got 4 to 5-ish spots available for undrafted free agents. That's a very light number for this organization. It's normally higher than that. So just purely based on the math involved here, I doubt they're done making moves. It might be a cut. Maybe they try to trade away a player, even for future draft capital. But I don't think they're done making moves with the way the roster is set up quite yet. Might not be big moves, but I think they've got more cooking still. Now, I want to talk about Jahdae Barron as a potential surprise Cowboys draft pick. And teaser, he would have interest in playing for the Dallas Cowboys, for one player who would know. But PFF named Jahdae Barron, the Texas corner, as the top surprise draft pick for the Dallas Cowboys. They're doing it for each team. We will break that down here on today's show, but first, it is made possible by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to tip-off. So with killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and of course their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. It's not just NBA games, since sure don't seem like the Mavs will be in the playoffs this year. Not the real playoffs, playing game notwithstanding on the road. But baseball, Cowboys games once those come around, hockey games for the Stars, and of course, you can get to 60% off those by buying last tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything else in between. So what are you waiting for? Go download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. Download the Game Time app today for last-minute tickets. Lowest price, all guaranteed. Terms apply. Here's what PFF argued in favor of Jahdae Barron. Quarterback isn't a glaring need for Dallas, but the team did lose Jordan Lewis in free agency and doesn't have a clear in-house replacement for his slot role. Texas's Jahdae Barron brings over 900 snaps experience playing inside and was the highest-graded corner in zone coverage across the FBS in 2024, a skill set that make him a strong fit, in Matt Eberflus's scheme. Now, as we get into, I have interest in this. I would be very happy if pick 12 came around, board plays out, whatever, and the Cowboys take Barron. How would you feel about it? Grade that pick, A, B, C, D, or F. I have a first-round grade on Barron. I don't have that many first-round grades, so whether he's the first player, the third player, the fourth player, whatever that's best left on the board, if he's there when the Cowboys are on the clock, he would fit one of the BPA mindsets for me. And it fills a huge need. The problem is this would be an off-type pick for the Cowboys. Makes it a good surprise pick, because I would be surprised if they did it. Had the great 40-yard dash time, sub 4.4. Everything else was pretty good overall athletically testing. Got an 8.62 overall relative athletic score. Checks off the athletic skill set the Cowboys prefer, but 29 5/8 inch arms is kind of a non-starter for Dallas. They've never drafted a corner in the Will McClay era with arm length that short. They almost never go below 31, let alone 30 inches. That's a bad sign if you wanted him. Of note, however, Barron would love to actually be a Dallas Cowboy. Tyler Guyton had this to say on Barron. I have a buddy, this is a couple weeks ago, by the way. I have a buddy over on Longhorns named Jahdae Barron who really, really wants to be a Cowboy. I think he'd be a great addition to the squad. Again, I agree. Barron is an impact player. He does everything for you. He can play safety, can play outside corner, can play nickel. He is the exact type of player I think this secondary is lacking. He's also a damn good run support player, which you're lacking, especially with Jordan Lewis now gone. It would just require the Cowboys to do something different than what they normally do at that spot. Now, we will have our live show again on Thursday. We are adding a little bit something special to it. We're going to call it the Chat Sports Mock Draft Special. A bunch and almost all of the different hosts here at Chat Sports will be live, and we'll do a 3-round live mock draft. I'll make the picks for the Cowboys. Mitch will do it for the Raiders, Chase for the Niners and Eagles. We'll have some fun with it, and I am very curious to see how it plays out. It's a maybe slightly more realistic scenarios of what the board could look like for the Cowboys. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Tune in for it. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. I want to go back to Stephen Jones to wrap up today's show, and I am upset again. Maybe not upset, but I'm going to call him out for things that I disagree with heavily. He spoke to 105 through the fan and offered, I think it's a troubling take, unsurprising but troubling take on the Cowboys contract talks. This is all in reference, of course, with the Micah Parsons one looming. Says we're trying to get them to come a little bit our way and take into account some of the things that are positive about playing for the Cowboys, playing in Texas, and those types of things. And obviously, they're trying to maximize their value on the contract. It's all well-meaning. It just, a lot of times, is a journey to get there. Everybody knows that's the case here. The cost of living compared to some of these bigger cities in the NFL certainly comes into account. At the end of the day, we're looking for some credit for that. Are you kidding me? The argument is, well, players should take less because Texas isn't as expensive as, I don't know, San Francisco? Okay? So you expect the Bengals to pay less because it's Cincinnati cost of living and Green Bay? Like, what are we doing out here? Seriously? The Cowboys always take this approach. They think that they are special. That they do not, they have publicly admitted this time and time again. They shouldn't have to pay more. We're the Cowboys. It's the star. But when you start to do things that allow you to maximize your own value because you play for the star, like a podcast, for example, they get mad at you. You can't have it both ways. The reality is you are not special. No one is taking a discount to come to the Cowboys anymore. You know why? Because you haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 friggin' years. Players, and in particular agents, simply do not operate this way. And it's not like Dallas is the cheapest city out there. It's definitely cheaper than LA and New York and whatnot, but it ain't the cheapest. Come on. It is sheer arrogance from this organization that they think, well, we don't have to pay the same cost. Guess what? You do. I don't know how many times you have to lose a negotiation to realize this. And there's even another quote we'll get to in a minute I think is even worse from Stephen Jones. Does he do this on purpose? Does he get a kick out of pissing off his own fan base? Is that where Nico learned it from? Is this how he gets his jollies? I don't know. This is personal at this point. Do you like Stephen Jones? Because I don't. I have no faith in the way that man chooses to operate the organization. Sound off for me. Y for yes, N for no. As mentioned, Stephen was not done as part of this big conversation about the contract talks and everything else. He had this to say, quote, "The main reason for it is we're going to be spent to the cap year in and year out. And over the course of time, we're going to spend our money to try to get as many good players as we can. That's the art of the deal." Unironically quoting the art of the deal right now when you're Stephen freaking Jones is a joke. Because the art of the deal is like some of the new age art where they throw paint at a paper and say, this is art, when it's like, no, it's not. Or the guy that hung the banana up. Like, come on. What are you talking about? What art of the deal? Losing is the art of the deal for you? Fact checked here, by the way. The Cowboys have $37 million in salary cap space. That will not all be spent this year. It is impossible. That is not spending to the cap. You have not spent to the cap. Does he mean spending to your cash limits? Because if that's the case, you can spend more cash. You are not among the league leaders in cash spent. You are not near the bottom, but you hover around that based on if you've paid the quarterback that year or not. You also don't do it. You have, and if you have spent to your self-imposed limit, that's a different conversation. And you're kind of accidentally saying the quiet part out loud that you just don't want to spend the same way other teams do, which puts you at a competitive disadvantage. I need Steven to shut up about the cap, because every time his mouth opens, he says something stupid, and either intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know which is worse, wrong about the way the Dallas Cowboys spend their money. And it continues to bother me. And I will call him out for it because I will not be gaslit into hearing lies from him.